You just shoot him and he scoots his like tight little bottom around the corner again and just goes through the fucking wall in the next turn and runs you over. I'm like, seems like a toxic interaction. Would be fun to try it though. Hello everyone and welcome back to the Red Path. It is Dara and Brian here with you today, and we are continuing our marathon run of World Eater brand new codex content. Today, it's all about the data sheets. What a spicy one that is. I think quite literally every single data sheet that is relevant, and even those that are not relevant, in the index has changed into something either brand new or had a slight tweak, lateral shift, maybe a little bit of a nerf, maybe a little bit of a boost. There's a whole lot going on. And we're going to break it all down today, talk about the good, the bad, the ugly, and it's going to be a whole lot of fun. Brian, how are you doing, man?
Doing good, Dara. I'm really excited to get into this too, because personally, I'm really excited for the Codex. I really feel like GW did a good job giving quality of life updates to a lot of our underplay data sheets. Sans a couple, I think broadly our data sheets are looking exciting and like really juicy and full of flavor. And I would argue that all of them have a home, pretty much all of them, including Mr. Heldrake, but
Let's
we'll get
not.
to that when we get there. Maybe not him,
Yeah,
but
let's not
I'd
overstep
say
here.
pretty much all of them have a home somewhere in the Codex. Even if it's not completely optimal, I would not judge someone for taking any data sheet in the army.
I would, but we'll get
Oh,
there.
oh, okay, my
So
bad.
today, obviously, we're going to be discussing quite literally like all the data sheets. So it's going to be quite a lengthy video, but it's going to be a lot of fun. You're going to get a really good insight into how both myself and Brian are feeling about these choices in a competitive sense. And of course, what better way to present these thoughts than to have a little tier list? Brian, you want to pull that one up for us here?
As always, Dara.
Hey everyone,
In
if
this
you've been
tier
enjoying the
list,
Red Path and want to support the channel, then check out our Patreon. Whether you're into competitive play or just love hobbying your berserkers, there's something in there for you. By signing up to either the Berserker Hobby or Berserker Competitive tier, you'll get access to one of two private channels in the Discord, which focuses on painting and modeling or competitive play. You'll be able to talk shop, jam list ideas, paint jobs, and all that good stuff in there. And if you just can't decide between the two, then grab the 8 pound tier, which gives you access to both. The links are in the description below. Cheers for watching, folks, and keep walking the red path.
full of nothing but the finest intellectual categories. We're going to be
You
starting at,
wanna work us through the tier list and give a one-liner explanation for each one?
oh yeah. So first we're starting off with Hot Mama, which that's just like sweating like, oh my God, when I read this data sheet, I was scrambling to find how I could shove three of them into a list as fast as possible because I was just that excited out of the gate to play them. There's quite a few actually that I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
be trying to advocate for. Then we have Daddy's Staples, basically Angron's favorite sons, the stuff that you're going to see showing up. I wouldn't say in every single list, but the stuff you'll see in probably two-thirds of World Leader lists across the detachments. After that, we have Situationally Saucy, which that will be maybe a data sheet that has some potential, that will shine really well in one or two detachments, but you probably won't see it in the other four, but it's still something that's going to making a regular occurrence or appearance. Explain yourself is you spent too much time in the kitchen and the heat has gotten to your head, and I'm going to corner you in the tournament hall and have you tell me why you've chosen to include this. Doesn't mean it's necessarily awful, but that means like you've been cooking and I need to know why you were cooking and you might be a little burnt. And then should have just been removed from the codex. As you can see, we have the fire chicken, which
We're not going to talk about him.
we're not going to talk about him. Actually, we're going to spend zero time talking about him.
Yeah, because
Uh,
we got a lot of other data sheets to cover, and I'm not advocating for the Heldrake, and neither is Brian.
And
Um,
there probably, I don't know, I can think of one data sheet that might end up down there too. We can argue about whether or not it's in front of or behind the Heldrake. We'll get there when we get there. But I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory. If it got removed from the codex, I wouldn't have batted an eye. And
Hmm.
we did choose not to include the demons in this tier list because they're kind of their own animal. We will have a breakdown that you can kind of go check out for the demons detachment in particular, which I will be deep diving in that video. Kind of my thoughts on how you should be including the individual demon data sheets within that because it's only relevant to that detachment. We're going to keep those data sheets specific to that detachment.
It makes a lot of sense. It makes an awful lot of sense. All right, let's jump into this bad boy. We're gonna go through them as you see them on the screen here. So we've got all the HQs up first. We've got the troops. We've got the hard-hitting elite infantry, and then we have the armored support. Obviously, kicking us off with this tier list review is the man himself, Angron. One of the most substantially changed data sheets in the entire codex, and I think it's fair to say for the worse in terms of a raw tabletop power. Before we kind of dive into the nitty gritty of where Angron ranks in this tier list, I'm gonna straight up say that I think they did. It's a tough one. They did a very bad job on Angron's data sheet. It's probably the only data sheet in the entire book that I really dislike. I understood what they were going for, trying to curb his revive, trying to make him feel less oppressive, and not having the entire World Eater's army warped around his existence, as it was in the Index. However, there was much better ways of going about that, which we've talked about before. I even did a whole video on how you could fix Angron's revive. And we're not going to go into hypotheticals here because there's simply just too much to talk about. But obviously, Angron has taken a huge hit, huge hit. His revive is so heavily nerfed that I personally feel like you would have to be in a game losing situation if you would ever revive this guy now. Like, as
It
in,
is,
you're guaranteed to lose the game if you
it's
don't revive
quite
him.
literally a Hail Mary.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
in place of other Primarch tier abilities, Magnus is +1 to hit, +1 to wound. Mortarians ignore modifiers. Now we're talking Fulgrim. Even Fulgrim, I would take Fulgrim's ability of the poison, doing D3 mortal wounds.
Hmm.
All of those are persisting effects that are helping your gameplay and helping your army perform on the tabletop, compared to now Angron's Revive, which is still random.
Yeah,
You A, have to be losing the game, but be losing it in the right moment to decide to do this. A, it's random, and B, I think it's an active game losing detriment to choose to
yeah,
bring Angron back to the table. Like he
100%.
essentially has no rules in my mind. Um,
It does kind of feel like he is literally just you look at him and all you really pay attention to is the data sheet. I think his three abilities are pretty trash. The no fall back one is cute, and that's kind of the only thing about it.
there's there's times when that doesn't matter, right? If you're in the
Yeah,
middle of a guard army, you're dead anyways, even if they don't fail the fallback check. Um, and
it's
it's a
pretty rough.
50-50, they pass it anyways and scoot back, and you're still committing a 400 plus point model potentially
And it's not the
uh,
same as when the
to a
Exalted had this
50-50.
ability because like obviously they suddenly become safe unless they've tied up a vehicle, whereas Angron himself is a monster, so he's literally just gonna be -1 to be hit. Without the feel no pain, he dies very quickly now. And his combat output has kind of weirdly
It's like a
changed.
side grade. I
Yeah,
would say
he's like
he's still
his.
just as lethal, but
This is the thing, right? So like, it was such a weird choice to like move a couple of his numbers, especially in the strike down. Reducing his AP, reducing his attacks, but then to give him dev wounds, which is like, I feel like on his Smash profile, he's killing exactly what he killed before. He's maybe killing a little bit better with the sweep because of Dev. So like he's better at killing Marines, which like, oh wow, great. Angron is now like probably guaranteed to kill 10 intercessors. How absolutely thrilling and wonderful for my big red Primarch. I'm really trying hard not to swear this early in the
and
video.
then I mean just while we're talking about the other abilities, you have the ignore mods to your movement and charges and weapon skill, which is situationally great.
Yeah.
95% of the time is doing nothing.
Yeah.
The reroll 6 blessings dice, well, we've talked ad nauseum through our other videos that our best blessing is the 6-inch pile and consolidate, which is one of the easiest to get. And as Jamie and I talked, the sustained hits is probably what you're going to be going for after that. Those aren't incredibly hard to be getting. And the reroll six blessings, if you're in a position that you need that, again, that just means your Demon Primarch is doing nothing to help your army for the rest of that battle round. Like
Yeah.
he is just a beat stick, which is sad. I don't know what point value I would consider taking him at, but I haven't written a single list with him in it yet.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think his raw data sheet is still good. He's still fast. He's still relatively tanky. Tanky as a push. And he still hits like a freight train. So, like, somewhere in the 350 region, he's a choice. But anything higher than that, and he's definitely not a choice. And even at 350, he's a fringe choice, in my opinion. Um, I would it. Oh wow, this is different from our last tier list. I would put him in explain yourself. To be honest, do you agree,
I
Brian?
I actually fully agree.
Yeah.
I have to have you talk me through why you think he is better than just running 6/8 bound with a character leading them.
Mm-hmm.
And when I
Gosh.
say that out loud,
Yeah. I think it would be very interesting to maybe have the previous tier list that we did come up at some point because Angron in the second from bottom tier is new, I would say. And this next data sheet probably also moving up a couple of pegs. We have the Demon Prince on foot, and he's kind of, he's seen Dad slacking off, and he said, "All right, I'm the eldest son, so I better pick up the mantle and cook the dinner and get the kids home from school." The Demon Prince on foot is a very, 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 very potent character now. Obviously, he has a kind of CP economy ability in the sense of reducing command point costs, which is very, very important for us. Kind of first time we've had it in 10th edition. He's a little bit more lethal. His attack profile has sort of
it,
changed. He's much more lethal in Berserker
and
Warband,
or vessels, he's also fantastic in vessels with Arch Slaughter.
of course. Yeah,
Like this guy wants to have, desperately wants to have one of the many now enhancements that we have that give him an extra damage or
damage
attack
buffer.
or
Yeah,
AP.
yeah, 100%.
Any combination of those three,
Yeah.
and you just turn his sweep into Angron sweep.
Yeah,
Like
which
he's
is
just
is wild.
he's quite literally Angron sweep on a stick that is a CP economy, and now he has loan up.
Yeah.
I did not expect this guy to get as much of a glow up. I mean, he was already like,
And he kept Dev Wounds on the charge.
yeah, I would say he was already like situationally saucy, pushing
Well, I
Daddy
mean, in
Staples
Vessels, he
before.
was incredibly popular, and now I think he is going to probably be in every
Broadly,
single Vessels list, I would say.
I think he has an argument to make an appearance in almost every single World Leaders list.
Yeah, so okay,
Um,
we'll run through it, right? He's going to be in the Jackal detachment because he gives the abilities to the
mhm.
Jackals. He's going to be in Vessels because there's so much stuff keying off Demon Princes, and he's a fantastic candidate for Gateway or Arc Slaughterer. He is very good in Berserker Warbands for sure. Like he will probably, if you want to put him in Berserker Warband, it's a good choice. I don't know if he is necessarily incredible in Goretrade, but he's still good for certain. Because there's a lot of stratagems that you want to use in that detachment, so him allowing you to use more stratagems is very good. Um, I don't want to talk about demons. Do you think he has a place in demons? Probably not, right?
he's a good holder for the everybody around me gets blessings because he's just
Mm.
kind of durable.
Yeah,
And
obviously quite hard to interact with.
he
And then
still has a spot there, but he's probably the least required
that's
of
probably
the
the
six.
detachment where he's wanted the least, right? But he still has a place.
Yeah, like we were saying, like he is situationally in every single list at a minimum,
Yeah,
and I think
because in
he's
the 8 band detachment, he is
required
close. He is
almost.
close to a requirement
That detachment
because
wants to be paying for using 4 CP a battle round.
yeah, and he's a fantastic beat stick in that detachment too. The only thing is that list already goes really, really tall, so you are pressured to have such an expensive character in there. I think he's like upper end of Daddy Staples.
I am inclined to agree.
All right, let's
I
pop him
think
in.
I haven't built a list without him yet, and I've been building lists for Demons and Berserker Warband and Gore Tread.
Yeah, he's in most of my lists. I have found with the 8 pound detachment sometimes he's in, sometimes he's out, but when he's out, it feels bad, you know? I'm like, oh no,
I think
my
that's
all
just
my
a sim.
TCP stratagems.
I think that's just a symptom of that detachment.
It is. It is. Yeah. I can't wait to see what he does in
Okay,
Vessels. He's gonna be gross.
now,
Ah, okay.
yeah.
You can take the Wing Prince.
So remember when the Wing Prince was like 210 points in the index, and people were like, "Oh, maybe we should put Glaive on him. Maybe he'll be good." And then everybody did that, and then they all started losing all of their games. And then their GW is like, "Hey, we're gonna like drop his points by 20 points because we see that like we want you to play with him." And people are like, "Oh, we're gonna bring him back, and he's gonna be so good, and we're gonna win so many games." And no, they kept losing games. And then GW was like, "Fine, fuck it, we'll make him 150 points." And like literal crickets chirping, and people are still playing Exalted 8 Bound over this
hmm
dude. And somehow his abilities like side graded worse.
Yeah.
Like you have the Emperor's Children Demon Prince, which just charges you and pretty much does 5 or 6 mortal wounds. Or you have this guy flies over you with some of Invocatus's pixie dust, throws rocks at your head, does like 2 mortal wounds, and then proceeds to then just disappoint you in melee like you expect from him. So he lost the rerolls call out, which was cool to lose because I hated that ability with the Burning Passion. The amount of upkeep you had to have if you're running multiple Demon Princes was too much. Like I didn't like that. Um, I mean, he's still a T9, 14-inch moving, 2-up save monster. You're still going to consider him for a rapid ingress. He's still going to disappoint you, and I'm still going to tell you to run 3 Exalted 8 Bound instead, is where I'm going with this. His situation hasn't changed for me. I
hmm
would probably put him at the top end of Explain Yourself.
Oh, I would put Angron ahead of
Um,
him in Explain Yourself. I think there's like definitely more of an argument for Angron than there is for this guy.
because Angron actually kills stuff.
Yeah.
He needs a lot of support. Like you have to be giving him Slaughterer and
Yeah.
Glaive and be putting CP into him to make him more lethal, just
hmm
to make him like not mediocre. And
Yeah.
now he's just like okay. And now you've invested points, design space, and everything I just said is better on a different candidate.
100%. Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, he's having a tough time. Okay, dokie. It's everybody's favorite Master of Executions. Again, actually, it's kind of funny. We front loaded the nerfs here. So Mo obviously has taken a bit of a whopper. He's lost his fights first, which is tough. He still hasn't found his invulnerable save, which is also tough. He's as lethal as before, still gets his full rerolls versus characters, and has gained basically the Juggernaut's ability from the index, so rerolling surges and advances and charges, which is like
Charges.
a very
That's
fine
like all
ability.
right.
Yeah, it's not bad, obviously, because like this guy's gonna be he's gonna be with Zerx a lot of the time, right? And like obviously the first thing that everyone gravitates towards is like, yes, in the Gore Tread detachment he obviously can gain his fights first back with an enhancement, which is very good. There's no denying that, and that's kind of part of the situationally saucy aspect. He's still a fine candidate for a whole bunch of different enhancements, as he was before, and he's still going to be a cheap choice, which is fine. I think with like the fights first was really his crux point. I think in
Yes.
Gore Tread he is a pretty solid choice.
I think he's a staple in Core Tread.
I think he's definitely a staple in Gore Tread. Um, However, I mean, when you look at the other detachments, sure, you can attach them to 20
Yeah.
jackals with an enhancement.
But it's just
It's a choice.
the my issue with him is that the swap from the index to the codex is we lost that feel no pain durability.
Mm,
So attaching him to 10 berserkers with a 6-up feel no pain means that squad's like 30% more durable to 2 damage attacks and 1 damage
hmm
attacks. Now you're not, and this dude doesn't have an invul. He is just making an already not durable squad like
More
more
expensive.
expensive
Hmm
and only 4 more wounds of not durable, which isn't enough to justify for me in the other detachments, including him, because I mean the squad's 10 berserkers now with access to extra AP and Berserker Warband. I don't really need more lethality. I think I'm
Mm,
perfectly fine running a nude squad without throwing another 70, 80 points, whatever he ends up settling on. If he ideally ends up being cheaper, pushing like the 50 point range, which I don't think GW would ever do, after a few data slates of just seeing nobody playing him. I think he could come out around there, and I think that he's just situational.
Is he situationally saucy, or like, do you actually have to explain yourself when you put this guy in a list? I'm
No,
leaning towards explain yourself.
I think, well, because remember that there's a few enhancements within Gore Tread that require the character inside the vehicle to be holding the enhancement.
I
And there's
know.
only
Yeah.
one candidate that can do that.
I think
So
he's
I say
literally
by
like
this definition, he is situationally saucy.
Gortred is keeping him at the very end of situationally
And I
saucy.
would agree that there's one detachment that I would consider playing him in.
Yeah.
Maybe two if we're talking the Jackal detachment.
No, we're not. We're not. No.
But you're the one who advocated for that a second ago.
No, I
But
just said
it's
that that's a thing you can do, but what you're actually doing is putting a slaughter band with goremongers and just sending him into the lines in turn one. Okay. We have Karn. What a dude. He evidently has like recently killed Lucius because he just like robbed his ability. So Karn resurrects now. Phenomenal.
which is actually quite a bit better than the auto fight on death.
It's like the amount of weird shit that happens with Karen's resurrection, such as like I fought on death and now I'm back. Obviously, he has lost his native fought on death. He's kept his rerolls for his Zerkers. He's gotten a little bit stronger on Gorechild. His plasma pistol it's taken a weird change where it's just like a regular old plasma pistol now. Whatever. Um, I think with how Berserkers are in their current state, and without having Mo as like the staple leader, and then having this guy who just reses on a 2+ to cause havoc. Um, yeah, Karn's real good right now. Like I'm talking if you're running Berserkers, you've got Karn with them, I think. Like pretty
And I
much guaranteed.
and then we're talking he's a staple in Vessels. He's a staple in Berserker Warband. He's a staple in Gore-Tread. I'm still running him with the 10 Brick and Demons
Yeah.
because
And
I
I
still
you
have to
you
play
would
a
probably
thousand
put him
points
in a
of War
Jackal list
Leaders.
as well. So I really think the only detachment which maybe doesn't use him is the possessed slaughter band. And I think he's probably in most lists in all other detachments. I think Karn is our first hot mama.
I'm inclined to agree. The glow up he
Mm.
got because it's so hot being able to have him die in a melee matchup and still roll for the 4-up fight on death. Have him fight on death, then stand back up, charge something, kill something else, and have him roll for a fight on death again. That is like a dream come true for me.
Yeah, and we're not even going to get
Karn
into
getting
the demon
four
detachments of like
activations. Yeah,
Karn
him.
dying, spawning 10 bloodletters out of his ass, and then because you can use the bloodletters to like block the space where Karn was. So when he resurrects, he's
He just
like as
pops.
close as possible to where the the bloodletters are. So he just like yeets in some random ass direction. There's a lot of weird jank you can do with him. I think he's just a phenomenal character. He makes Zerks, who are very good now, even more lethal.
And he's a really good solo piece now too. Like
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
argument for him as a solo piece is way better than it was before, and people were already kind of messing around with that. Now I'd actually say that it actually has some legs.
You want to walk us into info?
Invo's weird.
Oh, I
Um,
love him.
he's weird, not in a bad way. I can't tell you if he got nerfed yet. He did just get completely rewritten. Being able to go through walls is a nice quality of life whenever he's attached.
What are you talking about?
Um,
That's a nice quality of life. Being able to go through enemy units is
oh, sure,
like
my
money.
bad. Enemy units. So, attaching him to a 20-man brick of berserkers in rapid ingressing is definitely a mood. Uh, in Berserker Warband, you can slap that down on the table. You could then advance and charge and fly over your opponent's head with a mystical wave of just hate, and then just proceed to touch your opponent's entire army and probably melt 2 to 3 squads of just trash. And then you look at your opponent and be like, "Shoot me! I dare you! I'm gonna Blood Surge 8." And
Yeah, he's pretty
that
gross in that
story can be
detachment.
told. That story can be told across multiple detachments. I mean,
Hmm.
Vessels is probably looking to maybe run that brick too.
Oh, Vessels
Now,
definitely wants that. I think Vessels
I
is the
think
best with that break.
I think it's a bit of a meme to do him with the 20 men. I do think it has its place, like in teams. It's like a really saucy counterpick. I think him with 10 ingressing is really strong. And I think him with 3 8-bound or 3 exalted 8-bound is also really strong, especially like 8-bound, being able to still scout forward with them and then
Yeah.
be able to jump over your opponent's lines and charge something else is really powerful.
Well, I mean, you look at that in the possessed slaughter band detachment, so you've got a stratagem to pass through enemy units. And then you've got this guy who can also pass through enemy units when he's attached. So you can like arguably have multiple 8-man squads passing through your enemy lines in a single round. And like I think I was saying this in the Patreon chat where it was basically like, all right, guys, like, let's sit down here. What was one of the biggest issues that we ran into? What was one of the best counterplay things that someone could do against us? And it's screening, right? It's a lot harder to screen when I can just walk through your screen or when I can like charge into that screen and pile in 6 inches with a multi-tap. Like it's just another tool that kind of gets around the issues that we had before. Obviously, he's still pretty lethal himself. He's got impact hits now, which actually kind of makes him nice as a little solo piece. It makes him that little bit more likely to actually kill the 5 scouts if you send them out. I just think he's got a ton of rules. It's nice that if he joins 8-bound, they don't lose their scout anymore. I guess not. Yeah, the scout thing is like obviously everyone's kind of like, yeah, he's lost his scouting ability. To be like completely frank, I found that towards the end of the Index era, the scout ability was really kind of just like, whatever now, you know?
It doesn't, and with the addition of Spawn being able to scout now, and 8-bound kind of replacing that six-man's role, like the
Yeah,
six-man exalted role isn't going to be as common anymore in terms of like that front-loading brick that you're going to want to be scouting six every time because you don't have advanced charge anymore. You're not going to be looking to do that. I mean, I'm still scouting with 6 units in my Berserker Warband attachment list. That's the same amount I'm scouting with now. I think that's actually one more than I'm scouting with now with the RB2K um, as we're transitioning away from the index. Um, he didn't. He's not really going to miss having that. It was just a different
no,
play pattern, but
yeah.
he is kind of a Swiss Army knife now. Like he does like four different things really well, and
I
you
think
can
like
hack him for what you want him to do based off of the matchup.
yeah, see, that's the thing. He has like so much different stuff going on, and he can go in so many different directions that I think people are gonna actually find it a little bit difficult to get their maximal value out of him initially, just because it's like, oh my God, he can do all these things. Which one should I do with him? You know, but once they kind of get their heads around it, and in specific detachments, he's going to want to do completely different things. I think once people get used to him, he will be very, very good. I would actually. I would advocate for putting him behind the footprints in Daddy Staples because I think maybe initially he's not going to show up that much, but once people kind of start to experiment with him, they'll see the value. And I think he will be up there with the footprints as one of those things that like comes into a lot of people's lists eventually.
I'm inclined to put him at top of situationally saucy or bottom of Daddy Staples.
I would say bottom of Daddy Staples.
Alrighty. Juggernaut Lord Dara.
Oh yeah. Okay. So this guy obviously kind of similar to Invo. Has a lovely little ability to move boost his Zerks when he attaches to them, and can go through walls now, so you don't need to worry about putting Gateway to Glory on this guy in vessels anymore. Has a very cheeky rule for a 3 inch engagement range for the homies. A real nasty one, that one, especially with 6 inch pylons. Yep, that's a good combo of rules right there. He has lost his impact hits, much like Invo. He's not rocking a 2-up save anymore, which is a little bit sad. And he hasn't gotten a combat boost, which is tough. I was hoping his chainsword would get a little bit juicier, but it hasn't. Other than that, like his rules are good. Like his datasheet rules are arguably better. Well, I don't think there's an argument about it. They are just better than what they used to be. Um,
Before we were running these guys solo,
yeah.
or to just enable Arch Slaughter or another enhancement to pop off.
I mean, Arc Slaughter is still great on this guy. Is better now because you just put him with 10 Zerks and like that's a hell of a brick. And like you don't have to worry about navigating around those walls because he just goes through them. Like really good. I think in Vessels, the Juggernaut Lord is still incredible. And I think before we knew the rules, a lot of people were quite worried about like, oh, will the existence of the Slaughter Bound invalidate the Juggerlord? And I don't really think that's happened. I think he's still like, okay, obviously putting the Juglord with 8-bound feels a bit redundant because you don't really care about the 3 inch engagement range. You do really care about that with 10 Berserkers, though. or 20 if you're crazy.
Stop.
I feel
Stop.
like 20 is not the choice with this guy, but with 10 it's very good. Like you just don't really have to worry about like two or three guys being out of engagement range. They're going to be now. Um yeah, I think he's good. I think he works with a lot of different enhancements now. I would say in Vessels he's still a very strong pick. I would say in Gortred, it's nice because he can just kind of wander around with some random ass enhancement and kind of keep up with the rhinos and stuff. Um, Obviously in the demon detachment, he's phenomenal because you put him with Jugger, what do you call them, Blood Crushers
Blood crushers.
or Hounds, like really really good. Uh, I I don't know about him in Possessed Slaughter Band. I haven't found a place for him yet. I don't know if he necessarily has a home in there because you just want to run as many Slaughter Band as possible. But I think for the majority of detachments, you could put him in and he's going to have a place somewhere. So I think he's situationally saucy. He's ahead of Mo in the situationally saucy, I
I'd
would
agree.
say.
I mean, just by the merit of Mo has one detachment,
Mm,
and he has more than one detachment.
yeah. Alrighty.
So we have our brand new model of 10th edition, the Slaughter Bound. I was not expecting to get an 8-bound character for 10th edition, and the fact that we got one blew my mind. I think this guy is sick. As Dar and I have been discussing privately, um, this guy plus 3 Exalted 8-bound kills 95% of the game.
In Berserker Warband. In
And
Berserker
Berserker Warband.
Warband.
And
And
Berserker
also
Warband.
Possessed Slaughter. But, you know.
And probably Vessels too. I don't know.
Yeah.
Uh,
You know what? He kills
yeah,
95% of the game.
he kills 95% of the game. Okay. So I like the dude.
That's the cold open. The Slaughter Bound by himself with no enhancements and no stratagem support kills 95% of units in the game.
Well, that's just not true. But continuing.
It'll bait people nicely into the video.
Anyways, the Slaughterbound, similar to Invocatus, is kind of a Swiss Army knife. You can bring him in your list and change what you want him to be doing, based off of kind of your preference teching for the matchup, right?
Hmm.
Like I was saying, you can attach him to 3 Exalted 8-bound, which you should probably be having in each of your World Leader lists in general, just for that rapid ingress threat. You can attach him to that squad and have what went from a medium tank killing threat to a kill 95% of the game. Anything threat, right? You're getting like in Berserker Warband 28 attacks out of this squad, at damage 2, mooning probably on twos with multi AP. Or you attach them to a Apon brick that you're scouting up the board. Now you have a significant Alpha Strike threat, that you can scout 6 forward, move 10 and charge. That has to be respected. Or you run him solo. Maybe you're playing into something that you don't really care about, like Drukhari or Eldar or something, where you just want to have more units around the board munching on more elves, right? So he has an argument for almost every single enhancement in the book
Oh
to
yeah.
be on him.
Yeah, yeah.
Almost every single enhancement is just good on him.
Hmm.
Um, except for some like the weirder demons or like because the troop support ones are great too. Like you can have a glaive bound, which at first was I was like, wow, this is great. Glaive bound is awesome. But then I realized he didn't need it because him and his squad kills
He just kills
95% of the
everything.
game.
Yeah.
If you're gonna kill the other 5%, knock yourself out, right?
Now, to
Like,
be fair, Arc Slaughter on this guy is significant because it bring you up to AP 3 and 3 damage. Yeah, that's like a brilliant solo character to just run around and beat stuff up.
yeah, and you really can't go wrong with him. The apothecary rule is like a nice little cherry on
It's
top.
situational.
Um,
It's
I'd
situational.
say
That's going to
it's
come into its own
nice.
in the 8 band attachment.
And I'd say that's also nice for the other detachments because that makes you immune to chip damage, right? Your opponent can't
Mm.
just huck a grenade at you and say, "Oh, I killed an 8-bound" and move on, right? Like, no, the
Hmm.
8-bound's going to be back. If you rapid ingress this guy with 3 behind your opponent's lines, right? That means
Hmm.
they have to put something substantial into that squad, or it's just going to wreak havoc. Because if they fail to kill that squad, it is just going to regenerate and probably win you the game by itself because this guy kills 95% of the game,
Say it
with his
again,
3-bound.
Brian. Yeah, I mean, in the 8 band attachment, like, there isn't even a question of including these guys or not. You have to.
It's
Like,
like 2 to 3, right?
yeah, most of the time it's 2 to 3. So like the auto surging enhancements has to go on this guy. The the crits 5 to hit. Mother of God, let me tell you, crits 5 to hit. and 3 damage on all your 8 band
We
and this
we
dude. What a drug.
we get it. The 8 pound attachment kills things. Okay,
But boy,
as
does it kill things in that brick. Like, and
as
you, yeah, yeah,
you
it's
like
stupid.
probably, I think 6 8 pound plus this dude with +1 damage probably killed the entire game twice.
Yeah.
Everything put together. Anyways, just I'm consistently writing him into every list because he
Mm.
has just a lot of utility. Like I said, being able to be that. He's like Invo with that Swiss Army knife. I do think he's more applicable to more lists. Pretty much all of the lists,
Oh yeah, yeah.
except for maybe a weird demon variant, which is going to be a recurring statement. So I would put him in Daddy Staples, probably above the footprints.
I would argue that he's in Hot Mama
You'd argue
because
he's in Hot
he's
Mama
just so good. He's so good.
until
Like
he
we,
blows up because he has deadly demise
because
until he
yeah,
blows up
and
and
don't
kills all your
forget
friends.
in the 8 band attachment, you can make that go off on a 2+ for more damage.
Is that a May? Is that a May?
It's an what do you mean?
I mean, if he dies, does he go off on a 2 up and blow your own guys up?
Yeah,
That's
it's an
what I'm scared
enhancement.
of. I won't
Um,
fight you on that because I was either gonna have him at the top of Daddy Staples or Hot Mama.
but like I mean, I think like we've argued for him being in like you're gonna consider him in pretty much every single list. We haven't even talked about his whole like once per game power up and get more deadly in combat because we just don't need to because he is just this good, right?
Well,
Yeah,
that
like
was the 95% of the game math for me. But
yeah, of course, of course.
I mean, him plus 3 Exalted 8 pound does just kill a big knight.
Yep,
Just does. So,
yep. So, yep, right up there, right up there. Okay, we got the Zerks up next, which have like taken a whole bunch of changes. So obviously up to move 8 with D6 plus 2 surge, two things that are extremely powerful abilities. Boy, was I not expecting D6 plus 2 surge.
that was not, I would not have bet on that either.
At no way was I expecting an
And
auto 8
that,
surge stratagem, but
which I'm
here we are.
happy about because Berserkers definitely felt like they were probably the worst Blood Surge holder in the game of all of the other Blood
Yeah,
Surges,
maybe.
like Thunderwolf Cavalry, Accursed Cultists, right? Like these guys definitely like got hit by the Blood Surge nerf the hardest because these guys
But
wanted to
now,
do. Now you
yeah,
don't need a
now,
Blood Surge multiple times because now you just do it in one and done.
yeah.
Just
Obviously, we got to talk about dropping to strength 4, which is like
that's significant.
it's significant. Yeah, look, if you're playing Warband, it just doesn't affect you, which is fine. Obviously, it does affect you in all the other detachments, and
Gore
I
tread a little bit you can get away with too.
Gore Trade you can get away with it, and I think in Vessels you absolutely do get away with it as well because of triple blessings. In the other detachments, yes, it does hurt them significantly, and kind of funny enough, the other detachments don't really use the Zerks that much, like because the other ones are Jackpack and 8 bands, and I haven't written an 8 band list that had Zerks in it yet. So like, I think in the majority of detachments, so 4 out of the 6, they're gonna be good. Um, and then in the two detachments, which are very much thematically the above and the below Zerks, you're not really using them. So it doesn't feel too bad. And like, okay, guys, I know we're gonna say, right, look, they're down to strength 4. But, and I think I've said this in a couple of videos already, because of the blessing changes, you're not gonna have +2 move up because it's baked into their sheet now. You're not gonna feel no pain up because it doesn't exist anymore. And you're not going to advance and charge up because it also doesn't exist anymore, unless you're playing in Warband, in which case it's a stratagem. So, like, what are you going to have up instead? You're probably going to have sustained hits. You're probably going to have lethal hits or devastating wounds. Or if you're playing Vessels, maybe you've got all three. That makes Berserkers more lethal than the Index because you've got
Also,
more buffs on them than before.
Berserker Warband gaining 1 CP, just getting AP.
Yep. Same
Now,
in Vessels.
10 man naked Berserkers,
Hmm.
they hit hard. They hit very, very hard.
Yep. And they're really
Broadly,
good in Gore Tread. Like there's a ton of jank in Gore Tread. Like, oh, I've hopped out of my Rhino. Now I'm going to Surge. That's just so in like wildly insane. And like we've all I think
surging D6 plus 5, basically. That's just
what?
stupid.
Like
It's just,
genuinely what?
but
Obviously we have the whole situation of like the reactive disembark from the Rhino, which we'll talk about in a little bit, but like that's obviously you really got to talk about that with the Berserkers too, because you can set up all these really interesting plays. Someone walks near you with the intent to charge the Rhino, you hop out. Now you're like, cool, where do you want to charge? I can now heroically intervene with this squad, or like, you can't trap me anymore. And then Gortred really doubles down on a lot of that as well. Like the Zerks really shine in Gortred for a whole bunch of reasons. And that's kind of why the Mo works in Gortred as well. Because you probably want minimum 20 Berserkers in Gortred. Whereas you maybe want to dance between 10 and 20 in other detachments. Obviously, yes, you can now bring them in 20-man squads, and you can't bring them in five. How much does this matter, in your opinion, Brian?
I think if you just told me that I couldn't bring them in fives at the start of seeing the Codex, I would have been devastated. Like I would have been actually quite upset. Because I was really looking for that efficient skirmishing unit like Legionnaires, right? Being able to send out a five-man Legionnaire and go blow up something in the middle of the board and not feel bad that you lost an 80-point unit doing actions, whatever, right? That's what I wanted. But with the context of some other glow ups with other data sheets that now do that job significantly better, I'm no longer upset. Berserkers now took that step back from being the action monkey role to being the shock troop that we always wanted from a World Leader Codex. So I want to be running them in tens because of how much damage output they put out and the efficiency we're getting from our strats and our leaders that are on them. I want to be running them in tens. 20s,
It's a
calm
bit
down.
freaky.
Calm down. Like
Yeah.
maybe you could sell me on the Invocatus brick for a couple lists and a couple settings. I like my 10 mans and my rhinos. I think they're here to stay. I think the action berserkers are broadly just better than the index.
Yeah, because
And
like
I
I mean
know
they're
that's contextual though. They're
yeah,
contextually better.
because like their kind of target of choice is enemy mid to elite infantry. And when you ram 20 berserkers at or 10 berserkers at someone with dev up against infantry, yeah, I don't care that I'm strength 4 anymore. Like I just don't care. I think I'm gonna put these guys like ahead of the footprints in Daddy Staples. Where are you feeling? You don't agree?
I was gonna say ahead of Invo behind Prince.
No, I think you're gonna see. I think Zerks are much more of a staple than the footprints. The footprints is still a little bit topical.
I'm just, you know what? I just love the footprints too much right
Oh
now.
no, I know. I just think that like he's not gonna have quite the same draw as Zerks do.
Okay, so next up we have the Jackals,
Oh,
which
they came for Barney.
weirdly, I mean, Jackals were an auto include before, and they weren't an auto include because they were like devastatingly good, right? They weren't like, oh my God, that world leader player, he's spamming Jackals, stop him now. Like that just wasn't happening. We were playing Jackals because they were the cheapest thing we could bring for the most amount of bodies. And you know what they still are now? The
Yep,
cheapest thing we can bring for the most amount of bodies.
I'm shocked.
They still sticky objectives. I don't care that there's save 7. I was never anticipating them to live anyways. So they go down to save 6. The feel no pain hurts a little bit. I mean, that means Havoc Launcher War Dogs probably do just pick them up really quickly. It is what it is. I'm still bringing a 10 man in all of my lists to be able to screen out the back. They did get a quality of life, extra pip of toughness and attack, I believe.
The extra
So
toughness is so fucking weird,
it,
dude.
it basically doesn't mean anything.
It
It
literally doesn't
basically
make
means
any
nothing.
sense.
But the extra attack is nice because that's proccing the dev wounds now. Like I was talking earlier, is like if you look at a custody player with wardens and you just ball up some jackals and throw them at them, and you're like, I don't care if you interrupt here. Like waste 2 CP and interrupt. I don't care. And if you don't interrupt, are you spending your 4 up field on pain? Because I'm going to put 6 dev wounds on you and pick up 2 wardens and pay for the squad in 1 activation. So either they just lose 2 wardens or they pay 2 CP, which I don't care about, or they just let me like I'm just gonna rob them. It's like literally highway robbery of just dudes with lead pipes hitting them
Yeah,
and
it's
running.
so funny.
Like the jackals actually aren't dying; they're just like stealing some like armor plates and running away.
Yeah.
That's what that is, and um, which is nice, but like they do just instantly die to any matchup that has any amount of indirect now. But like I said, they still screen the back of the board. Am I
Yep.
sad that they got worse? Yes. Am I gonna stop playing them? No. I would argue I'm not playing more than 10 ever, unless
Yeah, the second
points
Jackal
are
squad doesn't
weird.
really have that same draw that
Yep.
it once did.
Before we were like, yeah, mash it. Bring the second Jackal squad
Hmm.
every game. Unless you're playing the Jackal detachment. I think you're playing one squad in every list.
And it's very
And
hard to talk about jackals in the context of the jackal detachment because they are just completely different there
it's like trying to tell me a cursed cultist in the
in any.
cultist attach in the cult, yeah, the cult detachment in the CSM book, and
Mhm.
comparing that to the other two. They're just different animals. So
They're a
ig
staple. They're one of Daddy's
ignoring the
staples.
jackal detachment and considering the rest, I think it's the bottom of the staple list. It's like you're a staple because I still have to bring you, not
No,
because I want to
it's
bring
ahead
you.
of Invo. It's ahead of Invo.
I guess you are
They're
bringing them
man, listen,
more.
they're going to be in every single list.
I
It's ahead of
guess.
the footprints too. Come on, like they're going to be in every list. You just
I
have
just,
to bring them. You don't have a choice.
I'm just gonna, I'm just so ambivalent to them.
Yeah,
It's like, wow, my list starts at 1950 with a squad of jackals. Weird.
yeah. Gormongers. Okay. Interesting unit coming up next. Obviously, their infiltrate ability is still relevant, even though we've lost the Mikado Scout Rush, but we have Spawn Scout Rush now and
They've
8-band Scout Rush.
kind of turned from less of an enabler to more of a harass piece
Yeah, yeah, because in warbands, going up to strength 5 with Lance, bit spicy.
and potentially with AP,
Potentially with
potentially hitting on
AP,
threes.
potentially hitting on threes next to 8-band. Yeah, no, they're quite spicy in warband. And then like you look at other detachments which do kind of go a bit more 8-band heavy, like the possessed Slaughterband and vessels potentially. Um, and you can still use them to protect your scouting corridors. Like they're still very good there. Like they're a quality unit for cheap price. They're annoying. They have the reactive move. They can become bloodletters in the demon detachment, which is pretty hilarious.
Everything can become bloodletters.
Yeah. Like you never overwatch Goremongers in the demon detachment because like all you could have is like
Like,
10
oops, you made it better.
like oh
Like,
you turn them into 10 bloodletters like right in front of your face in the first turn of the game. Cool. Um yeah, look, I think they're a great unit. I don't know if they're quite the staple that they were in the index.
I still am throwing one in every. No, I'm not every list. Um, Probably Gortred and demons that I've been looking at too on the side. I think I haven't been writing them in there as much. Berserker Warband, auto include. I'm taking one every single time. Those, as we just mentioned earlier, all of those buffs that you can stack on them actually pushes them to be very lethal into some specific profiles. Um, I would say they're probably somewhere in Daddy Staples. Uh,
Yeah. I feel like they're ahead of Invo, but not ahead of the footprints.
I would agree. I do feel like it's a slam pick staple, or auto include for some lists, and for the other ones, it's a nice quality of life just to have one. Like
Hmm.
it enables your li other lists to get their scouts off, which there's still going to be some. The 8-bound detachment's still probably going to want to secure its scout corridors. You have the scouting rhino and Gortred, and Berserker Warband likes them because it that detachment actually makes them lethal.
Yep.
Next up, we have
Alrighty.
the Exalted 8-bound.
It's Exalted next? Okay.
I believe that's Exalted. Whatever, we're just gonna roll with it.
It's Exalted. Okay. I take this one because
Go for it.
like this is
You're
the one
Mr.
that like
8-bound. You're this is
my boys in crop tops. Okay, so yeah, Exalted 8-bound have changed significantly. Let's not lie here. I love their change because okay, so as someone who literally squeezed the Exalted 8-bound sponge until it was dry in the index, especially towards the end, running 18 in the Dabrowsi list. Um, the problem with Exalted 8-band in the index is that they literally just did everything better than everything else in the index. Like, they were fantastic at killing infantry. They were fantastic at killing vehicles. They lived better than everything else. They were a unit that just did everything. And because of that, it kind of felt like other choices were made redundant because why would you take X when you can just take Exalted 8-band? That is no longer the case. They are now highly specialized into killing vehicles. Yes,
why would
Brad.
why would you take the Demon Prince?
Okay, why would you take the Demon Prince? You
Because you could
wouldn't
just take
take the
Exalted
Demon
8-bound.
Prince. Yeah,
Because you could just take that's
that
the
is
only
still
one. That's the
relevant.
only context. Continue.
Yeah, so they're anti-vehicle 3 plus in their weapons now. Which means that's like actually a really good change, right? Because people are like, oh, now they're just like as good at killing vehicles as they were before. No, they're better at killing vehicles because like any of those really annoying things, which were like, oh, this stratagem to give you -1 to be wounded, I just don't care about that anymore. I'm just going to wound you on threes. Their weapon profile is still very good. They will still kill like small elite infantry squads just
Yeah.
completely fine,
It's still 12
especially
or 15 attacks, depending on your
yeah.
detachment, at AP 3/2 damage. Like, that's still
Like it's still good. Don't hyper
way
focus on it.
more than flawless blades have.
Yeah, like they'll still kill. Obviously their durability has fallen through the floor, like which is a scary place for them to be, especially now that they don't have the fallback ability anymore. Their new ability is freaky, like genuinely freaky. I think initially I wrote it off as like quite literally trash, like will never come up. But then when I started thinking about the 6-inch consolidate blessing, it's more interesting because like the possibilities of them running through something and then consolidating into like a random ass tank or something, or like I don't know, just some any vehicle or monster.
Just tag a bunch of devilfish and see your opponent panic, right? Like,
Yeah, like
if you blow something up and tag a couple orc trucks
it's
and they
good.
lose one, that's value, right? That's
Yeah,
actually a situationally very strong ability.
I think so. Yeah. Um, as we alluded to earlier, the combo of three of these guys and the Slaughterbound is probably going to be a package that we see in most top competitive lists just because it's cheaper than deep striking the big six-man squad. It's smaller than doing that, so it's easier to get it in somewhere. And it kills 95% of the game. So yeah, that's like a really attractive package. The six-man squad has like dropped in viability by a lot because it's just not that durable anymore. Even in the eight-band detachments, I'm not finding myself building the six-mans very much. I have maybe one six-man in lists. Otherwise, it's just threes because they get the job done. And they just have a bit more of a defined role. I think broadly for the health of the book, putting them into a very specific slot of like you kill the big stuff is like a good place for them to be. The only thing is points are going to have to reflect that. We'll have to wait and see where they kind of end up shaking out. Um, I don't mind them being highly specialized monster killing infantry. So I would put them definitely into the staples because I think they genuinely do have a place in pretty much every single list, just as your anti-tank threat. Um, they're right up there for me. I would actually put them ahead of Berserkers.
Ahead of Berserkers.
Yeah, I would. Yep.
Okay, next up we have their cousins, which, in my personal opinion, feel like should have the role of Exalted uh, over their other
Yeah.
cousins. We have the regular Aegon.
Yeah. These guys,
Um,
these guys fuck.
they fuck quite hard. Okay, so at first when I read them, I was like, "Damn, that sucks." And then I read them again, and I was like, "Wait a minute, this is like kind of situationally stupid everywhere, all the time." Having your entire army just like hit on twos because your opponent made the mistake of playing things that walk is insane. Getting the wound reroll aura taken away is a bit sad, but getting +1 to hit and just being strength 10 on the charge now means you like
Just way better.
in Berserker Warband, in the index, you used to be able to like it was math on average that three of these guys charging an Armiger with +1 to wound sustained killed a War Dog. Now they just do that without any of that. Now they just kill a War Dog. And oh, cool. You had sustained on the side too? Yeah. Now your math to kill the War Dog's really good. Pay a CP, get an AP. Now the War Dog's really dead. These three guys run around the board, and there's a lot more merit to keep them in MSU. Essentially hitting on twos most of the time. Sometimes you're hitting on threes into tougher targets. But essentially hitting on twos. You're dropping like 18 or 15 attacks at strength 10 or 8, AP2 damage 2. They just hit insanely hard with an insane amount of dice. You bring them in a six-man Berserker Warband. That's 36 dice hitting on twos, which is exactly what we were doing with that six-man Exalted 8-bound brick. Now we
Yep.
have it back on these guys, which do a better job of like I liked sending that six-man Exalted 8-bound brick up, but they really didn't do anything to support your like neighboring troops and the rest of your army. These guys do that same role now, and they support the rest of your army, giving +1 to hit out. And you can run them as solo three-mans that just go MSE skirmish and enable things like your spawn once we get to the spawn. Enable your spawn to just pop off, right?
I think that
Uh,
like because like the buff, I mean, okay, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but the buff is better than the reroll ones to wound because like whereas
Mathematically, if you are the earlier in the dice rolling process you are tweaking the dice, the better it
better because
gets
it's
for
affecting
the
more
math.
dice.
Correct.
Yeah,
More dice are getting upgraded to something
and
better
reroll ones
is
and
worse
plus
than
one are like the same mathematical buff, right? It's like 16%
roughly plus
better.
one's a little bit better.
Yeah,
Just a little plus one's because I mean it's like a guaranteed.
it's guaranteed. It's not up to what should
Yes.
be random chance and
So,
average chance.
and yes, it doesn't apply to monsters and vehicles, but like I was saying, three A-bound with lethal sustained are gonna have no problem killing most monsters and vehicles. And if you are having issues doing that, you just need to threat assess a little bit better. And this is what having that one three-man exalted is for. This is what
And
having that
consider
demon has.
pairing your 8 band with a fine vintage slaughter band and just reap the rewards. Now, okay, let me regale you folks with a tale. Do you hate custodes? Do you hate custode players? Do you want to make them cry? Take 6 of these guys on a slaughter band and put them in the possessed slaughter band detachment. Give that slaughter band crits fives. And for 1 CP, make all of your weapons damage 3.
You probably kill like two warden bricks in one
You
activation.
yeah, you blend these golden boys and you harvest the tears of the Custodes players. Why are all my wardens dying? You don't care,
And,
you spit in their
and
face.
and the combo, I mean, yes, if we're gonna keep rolling with the warden hate, I hate wardens just as much as Dara, probably more. The Karn +10 brick, hitting on twos, re-rolling ones now, with lethal sustained dev up maybe, because Berserker Warband can still get that third blessing, right? And then re-rolling to wound, like these guys enable the rest of your army and amp that damage through the ceiling. Like the new World Eater damage ceilings are insanely high.
Oh yeah. Like the
And these are
possessed slaughter band damage ceiling doesn't exist functionally.
just stop with the possessed slaughterbound damage. We
And
get it.
tell me
The
I'm wrong.
detachment,
Tell me I'm wrong and I
you're
will.
not wrong. You're right. You're very right. But the Apeon are, I'd say, solidly hot mama. They
Oh
keep their
yeah.
scout. They
Yeah.
get where they need to be. They enable the rest of the army to really swing up. I would put them right now at the top of Hot Mama
I absolutely would
because
too. Yeah,
I
I
think they are
100%
in.
would.
I think they're in every list that I can write. The only
Everywhere
one,
that you wanted 6 exalted 8 band before, you probably have 6 regular 8 band now, and it's better for your army than the 6 exalted 8 band were.
yeah, and I think that the six-man regular 8-bound, you probably still want just one brick unless you're doing something weird in the 8-bound attachment, and then you probably want two three-man bricks. And there's a world where I see these guys are more expensive in points on the exalted 8-bound.
Oh yeah, I can see after a couple of balance passes that absolutely happening. All right, let's talk about everyone's least favorite world leader stepchild, the
Oh,
Terminators.
stop it. We have another least favorite one on here. Um,
All right, so
it's
terms they've
weird.
gone up to M7, which is actually like okay, that's like significant. Then they have some pretty weird rules. So they found a bunch of extra ammo and they reroll all shots versus the closest, which is a nice
Which,
anti-combo or like what's the word? Nombo? Nonbo?
how's that a
Um,
non-bow?
because you're like, oh, I'm gonna charge you, but first I hose you with combi bolter fire, and now my charge is harder. But it's okay because I can reroll charges against the closest. But I have made this a 10-inch charge, whereas before it was a 5. Like yeah, so like oh yeah, also all their strength just went down in their combat because like salt the wound, baby. Um
I think they're about the same as they were before.
so like the thing is, right? Like they're the argument is that here's where you find your durability. Because you obviously have a 4 up in Vuln 3 wound body.
But I mean, if you go talk to any Custode player, they're going to tell you that a
No,
Custodian
it just
Guardian is not
melts.
durable.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's not that durable, but it's more. See, the thing is, before you would just argue, well, Exalted 8 band are pretty much as durable as them, and now obviously that's not the case. So, like, if you want to build a weird durability Lifestar list, which is a bad idea for world leaders. Um, yeah, you can start building in Terminators. Now, I think as Jamie has rightfully pointed out, in vessels you can look at these guys. Like you genuinely can look at them in vessels. I still think they're pretty trash. I think they're too expensive. And like I'm honestly gonna say I don't see a reason to put them in any detachment because like what are they bringing to the table? Because before you could actually argue, okay, they're bringing you some ranged support, right? Like that maybe was an argument that some people were touting, which is not really a good argument, but still one that exists. Now, if you try and argue, okay, Terminators are here for range support, I'm like, behold, the Forge Fiend. It's better and cheaper. Like,
And you can have like three.
yeah, right? Um, like
It's
what are you doing with five Terminators in range support? Ooh, behold my like five combi bolters. I'm not scared,
I
bro.
I
Like
still think, I mean, I did play a few games with them, and the role that they served in my games was actually to enable other stuff to charge because my opponent would put 10 Kroot in front of me, and there's nothing in the World Leader Coda or Index that would shoot that off the board. Like even a Predator Destructor might even struggle to do that, right? To get 10 Kroot off the board. You know what doesn't? 40 bolter shots. Well, you know what? We got 60 of those now. So I could actually see like a solo 10-man brick marching around in a couple lists, just being like that. I'm going to stand in the middle of the board, sit on this objective, and score 5 points the entire game and
it's
just
just so
hose.
expensive though.
It is incredibly expensive, and I don't want to say explain yourself. I want to say bottom of situationally saucy.
No, no, it's 100% and explain yourself. If someone
Is
has
it?
Terminators in their list, if there's a Patreon in our Patreon chat and they submit a Terminator list to me for evaluation, I'm gonna say you need to explain yourself. Like you can explain yourself. I will listen. And if your explanation is I really love Terminators and want to put them in the list, that's fair enough. They are arguably better than what they were before. They have a rule now. The rule is just antagonistic towards the unit. Like you drop in from deep strike and you like, yeah, I'm gonna fucking hose this guy 9 inches away from me, and you certainly do re-roll everything against them, and now you're like, there's nothing within 9 inches to charge. Yeah, no, it's like
Okay, above or underneath Angron?
I think underneath Angron because like okay, you take 10 of these guys, like they're coming in at pretty much the same price point as Angron, and I would rather have Angron in the list than 10. Like that's what you have to think about now, okay? Do you want 10 Terminators or do you want the Primarch? Like what do you want, Brian?
I don't want either.
No, I don't want
I
either.
I guess
Okay,
that is
like
explaining
there's
yourself.
there's like a combi bolter that shoots 6 shots pointed at your head.
Okay,
What do you
okay, we're
want?
done talking about this. Sorry, Jason.
I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry
More
at all. These
DACA.
guys are still just bad. Like,
Well, talking about bad, we're
okay.
going into the chaos spawn next.
All right. Holy shit. Who
Bingo
pumps these
card for
guys
what was
full
gonna
of
get
trust?
buffed. I this is
This
there's
is
no
like
way
this
these
is the
models are
weirdest
getting removed in
change.
11th, right? This is
Yeah,
like
100%.
models
Yeah.
are getting removed in 11th and they just want to clear the shelves out. Um,
Why? Like, why did
why?
they decide that Spawn were going to be the okay, to be fair, ninth edition Spawn also very cracked. And they're just like, okay,
Consistently the best world leader unit has been, or one of the best world leader units has been like the least world leader looking thing. Like
yeah.
this little ball of spaghetti enables so much toxicity
Hmm.
in the codex right now. I mean, scouting 8. Okay, for me, I really hated being scout blocked, right? People slam Nurglings in front of me and I'm like, ugh, like that sucks. Like I can't scout my exalted 8 bound brick towards you. Now I'm just like, I don't care if you scout block me because I was gonna come kill your Nurglings anyways with these noodles. Like these little noodle bugs are gonna run across the board turn one. They're gonna move block your opponent. They're gonna set up sticky on death. They're gonna get where they need to do actions, and they're going to take scouts by the head and bash them into the floor repeatedly until that squad is dead twice over, right? Like
They also
they
kept the
got
feel no
plus
pain.
4 attacks. The
Yeah,
squad got
it's
4 extra attacks. Still has a feel no pain. Oh no, we lost advance and charge, but at least these guys still have it.
these guys were like all those blessings that are going away, we will simply absorb them like a sponge. Yeah, they're
So
cracked. They're gonna be like, okay, there's gonna be, I would say, probably minimum four spawn in. All right, I'm gonna put out a bold statement now. in 90% of 4-1 and 5-0 tournament lists, there will be four spawn.
I'm cutting stuff to make room for the third one.
Yeah.
Like, it,
The reason that Goremongers aren't higher up is because the third spawn unit is fighting them for the place in the list.
you know,
And
that's actually a
that,
true statement. That is
yeah, no,
valid. Like,
I've been building
if the
lists and
spawn
that's what
data
keeps
sheet didn't
happening.
exist, the Goremonger data sheet would probably be higher on my list.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
I would say it
Um,
is
are they ahead of 8 band?
arguing. I actually think they might
I think
be.
they are. I think those they're maybe the two of my favorite units in the book, but holy shit, because like okay, historically we've often talked on the channel about like good MSU skirmishing units to get the game rolling without having to overcommit. And like what we're basically saying is that the spawn do that. They're like a fantastic early pusher. Number one, because they can get to where they need to be very quickly. They can flip those annoying infiltrating or scouting enemy units very efficiently. They can set up on the points and die, and you just don't particularly care all that much. They're also not going to die that easily because they still have a 5-up feel no pain. And like they will just reliably kill things because what you do is you post up three 8 band kissing each other inside a building right next to them, and the spawner just like that kissing sounds really hot. Let's hit on threes now, and then they just beat the shit out of some crude, and that's just what
Yeah,
happens
and you're
now.
just like, Sir, can I introduce you to on average 17 damage to sustained dev wounds attacks?
Sure,
With an extra
sure.
AP if you're really feeling like you need it in Berserker Warband, right? Um,
You
as I
walk these
was
guys
alluding
into
to,
wardens, and they probe them.
yeah, they're like, you gonna pop the four up? Are you thinking about it? Oh,
There's a
okay, move
tentacle
three.
sneaking under your loincloth. You want to
Oh,
pull the
you didn't?
four?
Would you mind picking three models up off the table? Yeah, and I've outtraded you 2-1. Oh, okay. And as I was alluding to earlier, I would have been upset that Berserkers had the 5-man taken away from them if these guys didn't exist.
Yeah, I remember. I actually have such a distinct memory of like when we were first going through the codex and that hit you that we don't have the five Zerks anymore. And I think your reaction was like, "How are we supposed to MSU skirmish now?" And like a minute later, you were like, "Oh wait, we have spawn."
I was like, no, we got him. We got him.
Yeah, we've
So,
never skirmished better.
these guys are
Yeah,
insane.
they're literally going to be in like every single detachment, regardless of what you're taking. They initiate the trades, and like that is just something that world leaders need to do.
And Goremongers do the same role, to a different extent,
Yeah,
do a little bit different job. I do like a 3-1 split or a 2-1 split between them still. Um,
I think a
and like I
2-1
said,
split is where I'm
look
ending
at
up a
your
lot of the
opponent and be
time.
like, you want to scout block my spawn? Is that really what you're doing with your life? Like, is
Mhm.
your opponent going out of their way to stop your spawn from scouting it?
And if they're not, probably a mistake.
You're probably gonna just eat the spawn, or you're gonna like I said, the spawn are gonna go hunt them down. Like you're
Yeah.
moving 18 inches turn
You
one and
can't run
advancing.
from God anymore.
These things, these little balls of spaghetti move 24 inches up to on the first turn. Charge something and kill it. Like even with like lethal hits, sustained hits, like they have a chance of like solid chance of popping like a rhino.
Yeah. No, they're outstanding. All right, and speaking of rhinos, we've got one of them up next. Functionally, like pretty much not really different. Obviously, the big notable change is that it does have that reactive disembark, which we talked about earlier. As we alluded to, lots of situational kind of uses for that ability, such as like you're literally never going to get wrapped inside your Rhino again by like 10 Plague Marines and not be able to disembark. That's just not going to happen anymore. Also, a very good way of dissuading those Plague Marines from charging you is having 10 Berserkers pop out with Fight on Death up potentially.
Or fight
Um,
first.
yep, of course. Yeah, look, it's really, really good.
There's not much to say.
There's not
Transport's
much to
good.
say. It's like anytime you're running Berserkers, you're going to be running a Rhino.
I would put them above the Demon Prince,
Yeah,
probably below the Jackals. I
yeah.
mean,
Are they above the Demon Prince?
I'd say so. If you're running the if you're gonna argue the Berserkers are better than the Demon Prince, if you have Berserkers, they're in a Rhino.
Oh, you know what's fun actually? Uh, Rhinos in the Jackpack detachment are cracked. Like,
That detachment isn't real Nick
because you
energy,
can set
guys.
up situations where you're like, ooh, if you cut this angle, my demon prince is out by himself. He's not lone up anymore. And then they cut the angle, and 10 jackals jump out, and they're like, ah,
Yeah,
now
gotcha.
I'm load up. Yeah, I feel like the Jackpack detachment, which is one of the ones I've unfortunately had to specialize into. Um,
You're Mr.
Like,
Cultist Man. What do you mean,
no, okay, like
unfortunately?
I'm having a lot of fun with it. It's super goofy, but like, yeah, it definitely wants like a couple of jackal rhinos, which is a world that that detachment lives in a completely different codex to the rest of the book. All right. Oh, fuck yeah. We're talking about the Land
Okay.
Raider. This
So,
fucking boss of doom has glowed up so much. Remember when you first, when I was trying to explain the Raider to you first, and you're like, I was like, the Raider has rapid fire on its last cannons, and you're like, whoa, 6 shots, and I was like, no, 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 8 shots. It's just
which is
so good
mathematically better than not than it hits on
than
fours now,
before. Yeah,
but that's mathematically better than before. So
it
like
is. Yeah.
you're getting 8 shots and you're hitting 4 times versus
Oh,
four
we
shots
forgot to
and
talk about the fact that the Rhino blends in combat and has like a
oh
bloody
yeah,
like
I'll
40
just
cal
all
machine gun on top of it.
my bad. Okay.
All right, rewind
Yeah.
time. Rewind time. One thing that we need to talk. Yeah, now we're talking because this thing clears screens. All right,
The
so
the Rhino
freaky.
now kills 10 jackals, therefore it should be better than 10 jackals.
Yes, that's how the world leader hierarchy is. Is this like that way the spawn are on top because they kill literally everything else in the codex? Oh
Okay,
dear.
carrying on. Yeah, we gained a lot of extra shots on all of our vehicles
And we
at
we
the
swapped
expense of
weapon
being
skill and
ballistic skill
ballistic skill.
4. But mathematically, on most of them, it ends up being slightly better, even though it feels worse to hit on fours. It is better
Yeah, okay.
on a lot of
Like
these.
it's
And
super
your
simple to
damage,
think about it. Like, okay, before you had four las cannons hitting on threes. On average, you hit with two or three. Okay? Now you've got eight las cannons hitting on fours. On average, you hit with four.
and if you roll
If you
lucky with,
if you
if
just
you roll
highball,
lucky, yeah, if you roll lucky in the past, you get 4 last cannon hits. If you roll lucky now, you get 8 last cannon hits. Big
hmm
difference, guys. Like
So
damage ceiling being higher is way better. Which is a common theme throughout this codex, is that our damage ceiling has gone up, significantly up. Um, Also, like now that we have like reactive moving land raiders, if you shoot at them, and I believe you can reactive disembark from this thing still too, and still not reactive
I think that
disembark,
might be
sorry,
Rhino
you can
locked.
blood surge from it too, I
I
believe.
I
Can
think
you,
that's Rhino
Roger?
locked. I'm not.
Was that Rhino locked?
I would
I
need
need to go
Jamie
back and
would
read.
know. Jamie would know.
Regardless,
Also, it just
land
it fucks in combat.
it
Like
does it just yeah, you can like
in
tank
Warband, this thing will run over guardsmen in combat with ease.
tank shock and run into elves. Like
So it's like the
Tank Shock consolidate or Tank Shock pile 6, pop a CP for AP and
well, this is
run
the
over
thing,
two
right?
elf squads.
This is the thing, and this is what I'm working with in the 8 band attachment. Because like, just bear with me, okay? Because like one of the problems in the 8 band attachment is screens, and as I said, yeah, you've got strats that you can move through stuff, but you don't always want to be spending those because the other strats are very costly in that detachment. So what you have is the Land Raider, which is a fantastic delivery vehicle for 8 band in this detachment. It genuinely just is. I'm not joking with you. So what you do is you drive up and you're like, "Oh no, 10 guardsmen blocking my way." So you shoot them with your like Lewis gun on the top of the Land Raider. The four last cannons, I don't know, they fire downtown and kill a Lehman Russ or something because that's just what they do now. Um, and then you charge the Raider into what's left of the guardsman after you've hosed it with all the ammunition under the sun. You also charge the 8 band who hopped out, and you've got 6 inch pile in and consolidate up. And the Raider just comes in with its butt ton of attacks, probably pops the rest of the guardsmen because it's hitting on twos next to those 8 band. And then those 8 band pile in 6 inches and go into the meat that those guardsmen were screening. Like, do I need to sell you on that, or do I need to explain in depth the absolute shithousery you can do in Gore Tread Massacre with some of those abilities, such as
Somebody's gonna
the 8 band doing all that shit, the Raider consolidating 6, and then after the 8 band blend the good stuff behind, they just spend a CP and hop back inside the Raider.
I guarantee you it's not on your opponent's bingo card list when they see the tank that they're expecting to get charged by it on turn 2.
No,
Um I all of that being said, it is still an expensive transport. It is still
yeah,
going to be a point sink, and I still hate las cannons. Even though I have more shots, I still hate them.
yeah.
I
I don't hate them when you're like basically quite reliably getting four on the hit roll. I just don't hate
sure,
them
I
then.
mean it's the damage. It's after they make the saves and the damage, right? So it is better than it was before, significantly better. I think it
Significantly
is
better.
still going to struggle on terrain. Um,
Unless you're
And I
playing
still think
Gortred.
it is, and I still think it is going to be. See, this is where I'm going with this answer, is I think it is probably top of situationally saucy.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. I think um it shines in some detachments. It actually shines in quite a lot. It's very good in Jack Pack. It's brilliant in the 8 band detachment. It's incredible in Gortred, and it has a good place in Vessels.
And you could even make an argument for Berserker Warband.
You can.
Would I do
Much
it?
like
No,
everything else,
because
you
I
can make an argument for actually any of the detachments.
in Berserker Warband I'd probably still. I mean, it's the price of 3 spawn, so it's the price of a Rhino and 8 pound, which pop off in Berserker Warband. I'm still probably taking those, but I would not judge you if you decided to bring one.
Yeah.
And I do think there is a list for Gortred that has 2 to 3 Land Raiders in it,
Oh yeah.
where you're just putting 24 las cannons downtown in one
Yep.
turn. Nobody's expecting that from a World Eater list.
No.
Uh,
Alrighty.
oh,
Okay, we got the Annihilator. No,
no, this
Destructor?
is
Oh
Destructor.
man, I just don't know. The one with the is that the autocannon?
That's the autocannon.
Okay.
Let's just roll with it. It's the Destructor.
We can talk about them both at the same time. The Laspred just got worse. Its ability is just worse than before. Somehow they didn't find the extra ammunition for the sponsored las cannons here. But they did for the top. So like, sure. I think like I was talking to someone about this and they said, "Why would you ever take the Annihilator when the Land Raider exists?" And I'm like, "Yep, you're so right. I will find those extra points." The Destructor has like a little bit more play because making things -1 to hit with its new pinning ability is useful. And it has a lot of shots now. Like it actually just does put out a lot of DACA, but it loses the AP when it's shooting infantry, so those bonus shots kind of just end
It's
up
gone from
coming
like
out in the wash.
a weird tech piece into like 3 wound spam, like when people were running Inceptors everywhere and
Yeah.
custodies are still a problem. It was a weird tech piece back then.
I think
Now
it's
it
as
doesn't do
good
that
as it
job.
was before.
Mm,
Maybe
I
worse.
I
Maybe
think
worse.
slightly worse. And I think we're gonna talk about its competitor, which is way better,
Yeah.
which is gonna be the prime. Like when you tell me that you have a Predator Destructor in your list, I'm gonna say, well, why don't you just play this instead? And that is going to be a recurring answer that I'm gonna tell you. I think it's probably top of Explain Yourself,
Mm,
bottom of Situationally Saucy.
I think the Annihilator
No,
is
we're not. We're talking
bot.
Destructor.
Okay, we're
Just
just talking
Destructor.
Destructor. Yeah, yeah. I would put it at top of Explain Yourself. I don't think it's situationally saucy. I just don't think so.
Now
Annihilator,
the
I think, should have been removed
Annihilator,
from the codex.
which I think is funny, is looking at this art. It actually doesn't even have sponsons on it.
Yeah,
Um,
that's
I
the
was going to
problem.
agree.
When
I
they were
said there
writing the
was.
data sheet, they looked at the picture and they were like, "Ugh, it doesn't have sponsons."
I do agree that I've never considered running an Annihilator. I never will
Um,
consider running Annihilator, and I will continue to forget
would
it
you
exists.
consider it over the Helldrake?
No,
I actually think the Helldrake might be better.
that's what I'm saying. Like I think the Helldrake is better.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Well, speaking of glow ups,
The freak
Mr.
on feet.
Waddles.
He's broken out of the closet.
You can let your Hellbrutes out of the closet. These guys
Somebody
actually kind of
reset the
slap.
meme. They need to have like the Red Path logo opening the door of the closet now.
I forget who made that, but please send us
Uh,
one.
that was such a
Uh,
good meme.
the Hellbrute now gets +2 attacks if it has 2 melee weapons, any combo, and I believe it got +3 to its move.
I got plus a good bit.
Like
I can't
it's
remember
either
exactly how
+2
much.
or +3
What is
to
it
its
now?
move. So
M9?
I think it's M9.
Yeah, I don't know
I
what
think,
it was before.
I think it was M6. Like it was Mr. Waddles, and he was
Mm.
like really slow. Um, so I tell you it's 3 inches faster, and you're like, oh, so whatever. I mean, I could have just like rolled an advanced charge and just got him there anyways. But what if I told you that Mr. Beyblade can probably table an entire Eldar army if your opponent isn't just consciously watching that they're not 7 inches away from each other? Like a Power Scourge on this guy, or a Hell Scourge, 12 attacks. And you go charge some poor little Eldar squad, and you pop an CP for a bonus AP, and you just smack that off the table because you're going to be hitting on twos because there's going to be 8 on nearby, and it's gone. And then you pile in 6 into another squad, and then you do it again, and then you do it again, and then you do it again. And these things are dirt cheap for the ability to just pinball through your opponent's entire army. It kills war dogs on average. It kills transports on average. What's really cool about it is if you charge into a transport first with the +2 attacks, now that your fist you have 9 attacks on, you have a decent chance of killing that transport. And then those poor fuckers that get out have to deal with him again. So, um, he had a huge glow up entirely because of the consolidate blessing, which if you're playing these guys, you're going to be looking at using and taking advantage of a lot. And the amount of headache that your opponent's going to have to space themselves out to get away from these things is worth it. It's just worth it. The psychological damage of doing pulling this off in one round is going to be insane. I wouldn't be surprised if there was an FAQ that limited it to one fight back.
No,
Um,
we've
there's
had
been
this.
iterations of it, but
Yeah, the deck company guy and is it Murderfang both have it too.
yeah, but
Like
this is
it's
probably the strongest iteration of
this is the
those.
strongest iteration, but it's not that much stronger. Okay,
No,
like
it still
it's
temper yourselves. I do think it finally has a home now
some
because
freak is gonna like run three and just randomly table someone.
yeah, you could table an entire Eldar army with just 3 of these things if
I
they're
just
just
love the
not paying
idea.
attention.
I said it before in Gore Tread of like just putting having a few of these guys, having one with like a gun or maybe two guns, and like someone shoots it and it just guns them back, and then you spend a CP and it scuttles behind a wall. Like just this like fucking gremlin, just like bah, 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 bah.
But the joke is, it still dies to the majority of the game that wants to be shooting at it. Like,
Yeah, like this guy
uh,
can get one tapped like pretty easily by most
probably
things.
if an Eldar player, because we are talking about Eldar players, probably just put the like sergeant of the squad into him and just kill him with the
Yeah.
Melta Six Lance, and you just like, oh damn, I still brought a Hellbrute, and he still died to one thing, just one stupid fucking model. It's still gonna happen a lot. Vindicator will activate, pick him up. CSM
Oh,
Fortune,
like I
just
mean,
pick him
like
up. Like
your
it's
average
just,
world leader shooting platform will activate and pick him up.
but, but, but. That's why we take 3, so they can only have enough time to kill 2, so the other one can table your opponent in
Yes.
one turn of
Yeah.
activations.
So where are you seeing these guys fall? I love the Hellbrute. I mean, I'm a huge fan of the modern Contemptor model, and I have five, I think. So
Sue
like,
me, I think it's top of situationally saucy.
yeah, no, I don't disagree. I don't think it's quite making it into Daddy staples,
No.
but yeah, I can see it. I can see it in situationally saucy, and it is like it is the king of the sauce. You know, like this man is spreading sauce everywhere.
It's a lot of sauce. And
It's
like
a lot of sauce.
I was playing in that really annoying 260 guardsman list.
Yeah, you're having
And
a
just
great time there.
this dude with a scourge just go
This
bap bap
guy,
bap bap
if you
bap.
have like the cursed mirror where you're running Gortred and you run into like Josie running 120 jackals, holy mother of corn.
Those
That guy will
jackals are gonna
bounce through
run
the army until
screaming.
he accidentally bounces into the Lord of Skulls, and then the Lord of Skulls will treat him like a tennis ball.
I mean, that's why you play 3 though.
Okay, so three tennis balls. What would be amazing is if they all converged on the Lord of Skulls in a single kind of like phase, you know? Now I'll try. All right. The battle puppy.
Um,
This is your baby.
I used to be the king of the Mauler Fiends. That is what initially kind of put me out there on the map is holy shit, that dude went 4-1 with 2 Mauler Fiends. And that was back when Mauler Fiends were cheaper than Exalted Apown, which I think they are now, but they were like much cheaper because Exalted were like 180 on launch. Um, they did get a bit of a glow up on their melee profile, right?
Yeah, they're a little bit more consistent.
They're a bit more consistent. Their ability changed, but it's broadly still the same. If they're charging something that is below starting strength, they're still getting a +1 to hit, +1 to charge. Um, tank shocking with them is going to be the primary, like they're a cheap tank, reliable 5 mortal wound tank shock target. Or sorry, no, tank shock got changed. I don't know why I said that. I'm thinking old Mauler Fiends back when I was playing them. No, you're still getting like 3 or 4 mortal wounds through, which is still good. Um, I like them pretty much only in Berserker Warband because Berserker Warband can push their AP to AP3,
Yeah, they need that 100%.
which is
I
what
mean,
they always
I
needed.
don't
And that was,
hate them in Gore Tread with all the vehicle jank.
but I feel like those points are better spent on Land Raiders for your anti-tank. If you're looking to and like go through walls, it's cute, but Gortred wants to be spending its CP on other stuff. And I feel like you're investing too much for Gortred.
In my opinion, it's just kind of like a Hellbrute, which lives a little bit better and theoretically hits better, but doesn't when the Beyblade starts to rip. I don't think so. So I kind of just see myself being like, why would I pay more when I can just bring the Freaky Walker? And I think I can't really find a place for the Mauler Fiend. So
He's going to
for
show up in lists, and he is going to do well.
if you
I
like the Mauler Fiends, if you really want to run the Mauler Fiend, like it's not gonna be a bad choice. It's not gonna be the most efficient choice, but it won't be like you won't have to explain yourself,
no.
basically. I think he falls into like the kind of lower end of situationally saucy,
I
probably
think
ahead
he's
of Mo.
above Mo. I was gonna say
Yeah.
ahead of Mo.
Yeah. All right. On the other hand, Gun Puppy, holy guacamole. This
Who
guy,
gave the dog a gun?
this guy
Who
pops
gave the
off.
dog a gun?
Did you buy Brigands? Did you play the Brosy or Dabrosy and buy Brigands? That was the wrong choice. I have made the wrong choice quite recently. Now I'm having to rectify that choice by converting up some freaky ass forge fiends. Um, yeah, these guys are phenomenal. So like, I think broadly speaking, one of like the main overall army archetypes that the New World Eater Codex can build into is very good combat with substantial gun support. That was basically how the kind of top tier vessels list, the Brosy list, operated with the Brigand support. Now, for a cheaper price point, you can have Forge Fiends, which they don't necessarily like shoot better, but they shoot very efficiently by rerolling everything into the closest target, having very good 3 damage guns with a ton of rapid fire. No, the Hades is not better than the Ectoplasma. We've already mathed it out. It looks really attractive when you've got that big number next to the rapid fire. The Ecto is just better because of higher
There's like
AP and damage.
one situation that it's better, and that's like into
It wasn't
Guardsmen.
even better, right? It was like the
It was like
same
it was
when we looked at
about
it.
it was like marginally better, but
Yeah.
like 0.1%. Every other situation, Ecto's strictly
You want
better.
that Ecto, right? So you've got a really good platform that's rapid firing now. It's relatively durable. Nothing's like tied to it in the sense of it can act independently and still do its thing. Very, very attractive option for putting one of these guys in strat reserve and just coming in wherever you need to be for that rapid fire and reroll range. And yeah, like, look, it's just going to open up holes in screens. It's going to be able to shoot into elite infantry and do quite well. The only problem is it can't quite challenge heavy vehicles. Like, you could put it into a Rhino type chassis and do quite well, but I think once you go past that kind of level, it's going to drop off in
Um,
efficiency.
And that's not what we're looking to get out
No.
of our gun platforms anyways. Our gun platforms are there to enable our melee to succeed.
Yeah.
It's removing those screens. It's tapping those scouts all the way on the other side of the board to spawn bloodletters now.
Yeah, I was about to say
Um,
they're like auto taking Core and Demon Detachment, right?
you're running 2 to 3 in the demon attachment.
Yeah, yeah. They're just bloodletter generators. Yeah, look, it's a phenomenal gun platform. I'm currently working on a tutorial which is going to show you guys if you want to, how you can build a lesser brass scorpion as a proxy for a forge fiend because the model still looks ass and we need cooler models. And also, the great thing about that conversion tutorial is it gives you something to do with that Helldrake that you have lying around because I chopped one of them up to make it. But that'll be coming out in the next like month or so. It's a fairly long build, so look forward to that. But yeah, the Forge Fiend is just gotten a huge glow up. It's cool because like what it did for me was like historically in eighth and ninth, I loved having like some backline fire support. I usually use Leviathan Dreadnoughts for it. Obviously we don't have those anymore, but like it kind of drove me to be like, okay, that's a really nice data sheet. I hate the model. What am I gonna do? And then it kind of like creatively was quite interesting. I think we're gonna see him in quite a lot of lists. I I genuinely would put him in Daddy Staples ahead of Invo, maybe behind the Goremongers.
I was thinking about that area too. I was going to put them bottom of Daddy Staples.
I feel like they have more of a place than Invo.
I think because they do have some lists that are going to dedicated want them, I'd agree with that. Not
Hmm.
thinking on it. I don't think Invo has dedicated list placement. But they are pretty damn good, which is I did not expect gun platforms to rise through the ranks as much as they have.
It's wild. Yeah, super wild. All
Speaking
right.
of gun platforms,
Speaking of just gauze of the battlefield, move aside, Angron. The truck is here. You want to take the class? I just did the Forge Fiend.
Yeah, so what if we had a 72-inch gun that had rapid fire? Is kind of how to sum this thing up.
What if?
So the Colossus lost
Do
his
you
ability.
remember? Sorry to tangent aside. Do you remember when, like, early days, maybe like a month before the Codex, we started to hear like rumbling leaks in the background, and we heard about like the rapid fire leak, and I think all of us collectively said they won't put that on the class. And then I think we all pretty much collectively said maybe they put it on some of the guns, but they won't put it on the Hades Gatling cannon.
And
And then
now everything's
GW
like
said, is there an upper limit to the rapid fire number?
some of those rapid fires don't even make sense.
No, none of them on the
Not
class
even
make
a room.
sense.
Like it got significantly faster. It got jealous that it had the top half body of a knight, but like didn't have legs to go through walls, so they just decided that hey, I just want to go through walls now, which is a big quality of life improvement. It's fast enough to go through walls, and now it can go through walls. Um, it did lose its weird fish Angron back ability in place of just getting an extra die roll for your blood dice,
Which is
which
just
is
super good.
actually super good
Yep.
because getting the accursed 1 1 1 2 3 4 5 6 can still happen. And now that you don't have icons, you kind of just got to stare at it and say it is what it is. So having this guy makes it so you can get 1 1 1 1 2 3 4 5 6, and then have a different reason to cust this guy. So helping make your blood dice a little bit more consistent is just a nice quality of life. Being able to go through walls, again, quality of life. He
His
moves
combat
four
got better
inches.
too.
He moves 4 inches faster. He got a couple extra attacks.
And he
Um,
has a detachment where he's literally God. Like,
he got he was already like fringe world leader meta. Like
mm.
you could a Chaos list could thrive. Like you would have for every three Berserker Warband wins with Angron. Or sorry, I mean I guess they all had Angron with them anyways. You'd probably have like three non-Chaos wins to every one Chaos win showing up. Now I think that number is gonna get a lot more even.
Oh yeah.
Uh, the Jackal detachment, you could argue that he's an auto include in it. I don't think you're running him in Berserker Warband just because Berserker Warband wants to be MSU heavy, and having a big chunky dump truck of a model like that is just eating away from your 8 pound slot.
Gortred though. Holy,
Gore Tread,
holy moly. You
oh
ever
God,
seen a
now we have,
reactive moving class?
yeah, how dare you shoot me? I get closer now. Like, thanks for making
Yeah.
my charge easier, bud. Um, and then he's just a consistent gun platform in the other detachments. You could argue him in demons. Um,
I just think in Gortred, like the appeal is like he pokes his thick butt around a corner and like he guns the ever loving shit out of someone. And then you either shoot him with something that can one tap the class, which like broadly doesn't exist, and or you just shoot him and he scoots his like tight little bottom around the corner again and just goes through the fucking wall in the next turn and runs you over. I'm like, that seems like a toxic interaction. Would be fun to try it though.
it would be awesome to, if you guys are interested on more of the bullshit jank that a Kalos can do, hit Jamie up because he's already planning on
Oh
jamming
God,
three.
yeah,
Um, so not much more to say. Like he's just everything about him got better.
he's just
Other
quality.
than not being able to guarantee bring Angron back, which it's fine. We aren't playing that loser anyways. So,
Yeah. He ate
I'd s-
Angron. Angron died so the class can live.
I would probably put him in situationally saucy still.
I think he's
Um,
like he's pushing the top of situationally saucy. I'd
I'd say
rather have a class than a
bel
Hellbrute.
I was gonna say beneath the Hellbrute,
No,
but
maybe. Yeah, maybe. The Hellbrute is just a freak. Um Hellbrute's been in the closet too long. He's got some stuff he needs to work out on the
talk
tabletop.
about so we had the dude that was in the closet that kept trying to break out and we kept shoving him back in the closet because yeah, 130 points, it was really annoying. 8 pound were just a little bit more expensive. He kept creeping his head back out. Now let's talk about the monster that's been living under your bed for 2 decades.
Oh boy.
We
Okay.
had literally nightmare fuel, the ugliest model in the chaos range still around, I'd argue. I'd
And
say the
it's
worst looking model in the entirety of the chaos range across
better
all the
than it's
books.
ever been before.
And
Yay.
specifically for world leaders. The amount of gotcha bullshit this thing has now is insane,
I
right?
want
Like,
to take its two claws and drive them into my eyes because I keep thinking about how it's going to be good and then how I just don't want to ever own this model.
The thing is, it's like not necessarily good.
It's a
It's just
freak. It's an absolute freak. You just don't know what
so,
this thing doesn't know what it's going to do.
and neither does your opponent, which is its biggest strength.
I think
So,
like
if your opponent disembarks or comes in from reserves within 12 inches of this thing, it just gets to either shoot or YOLO swag straight into it, right?
do you want to be immune to fire dragons? The Defiler is your answer.
Because it's not an Overwatch. They're aspect shrine tokens, not saving them from these hands, right? Like these fire dragons are eating a battle cannon, whether
I
they
think
like it or not.
it's like,
And if your opponent missequences how they're shooting at you too, you can just like 6 inch scuttle away. It's essentially having a 12-inch deep strike like denial bubble. Oh, look, that demon player dropped 6 inches away from you. Catch these claws, right? Like,
yeah. I mean, like, oh, I don't want to talk about this freak. It's so good. It's so funny.
is it though? Is it good? I
I
don't know if it's good.
it depends where its final points land, I think.
There's a weird fucking argument that one of these could like scuttle its way into every World Eater list to just be like the core anchor in the middle of the table, just
Yeah,
to be
like
this
that's the thing.
annoying little freak.
It's very see, the thing is that like broadly the book is pushing for an angle of like bring your opponent in and then chop them up. Whereas the Defiler kind of pushes against that sort of mindset where it's like, don't you dare come close because I will gun you. So like yeah, like it's kind of pushing against what the rest of the army wants to do. However, it is obviously creating this zone of like you can't come here. Um, it does like move over shit as well. It's got obviously rapid fire on a ridiculous amount of guns and still hits like a truck in combat. It's an absolute freak. Like it did crawl out from under the bed.
No,
And like it's gonna continue crawling around your bedroom until you do something with it. And that's either throw it out the window or welcome it into your sheets, I guess.
and I'm still gonna refuse to play it out of principle because I fucking hate this model and everything about it. The fact that
Did you know this fun fact? Because you're such a young, youthful boy in this hobby. Did you know that the original Brass Scorpion, do you know the
yes, I
story of
knew.
that?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, I know. It's a comic book or
No, it's a
it was
White
back
Dwarf
of a magazine.
article. Yeah.
Yeah, the model was so ugly they made it look even uglier. It doesn't even look like a
Oh,
scorpion.
come on. It
No, it
does.
looks
It
like
does.
you let your little nephew play in the Lego box and they show you like a car that they made. And that's like what that looks like. I don't know. I would say this is at the top of Explain Yourself because it probably has the most justification out of everything beneath it to be like, I guess, like
Okay.
that's literally the meme of like, I guess.
Would you rather have three Moes or one Defiler in your list? If the Defiler
Oh,
looked good, okay, can you like for a moment put the model out of your head, right? Imagine, have you seen the Soul Grinder? It's kind of like a cooler Defiler, right?
it's cooler but still ugly, but carry on.
Okay, but like imagine, I don't know, just some sort of fusion Zord, which where the Defiler looks cool, right? Uh, you'd probably be putting this guy up higher.
Probably
We're
still
not looking at this from a model perspective. We are looking at this from a
if
data
you're gonna
sheet.
tell me that he looks pretty, he goes above Mo and no higher.
I'd rather have him over a Molar Fiend.
And this is the content people want to try to pay for.
I'd rather have him over the Juggerlord. No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't. I wouldn't.
No,
I'm
you
pushing.
take that back.
I'm
I
pushing. I'm
gave you
pushing.
one. I disagree with the Mahler fiend, but
Okay.
considering all of the data sheets that we have ranked
It's
right now,
almost falling into
he
a normal
shot up.
distribution.
I think he made the highest jump out of any of the data
Um,
sheets
I would say
because he used to be in
maybe
Helldrake.
no, that the Hellbrute might have jumped the highest.
Probably.
There's some
Obviously,
big
the biggest
jumps.
fall from grace is our
Is
dear Red
Ron.
Angel.
Yeah, no one has jumped
Um,
higher than Ron has fallen.
Ron fell the entire tier list, like the
Yeah.
entire tier list, almost to the bottom.
And he hit every branch on the way down.
Is there anything about this that you would move around or change?
I think broadly it speaks to like a fairly well-rounded book, actually. It's kind of like forming a rough normal distribution, which is sort of what you want to see in a datasheet power kind of level. Um, the the Jug Lord feels a little bit weird where he is, to be honest. I think he has maybe more use cases than the Raider and the Class.
I still think he has valuable, like he's still a valuable Arch Slaughterer holder.
Yeah.
He's still got some really weird techs being a solo piece or
The
joining
3 inch
three.
engagement range with the 6 inch Pylon Con is very good. Um,
It's just he's a lot of points,
well,
and he's
he's
still
not
going to be
though.
fighting the Slaughter Bound for.
I don't think so. I think he fights like whoever you attach to Zerks, and I think in vessels you're going to be running a ton of them. I see him
I think I'm
being
probably going to see him on the. I'd move him up just because I think I'm going to see him on the table more than a Land Raider or Kalos.
I think so too. Not more than a Hellbrute though, I feel.
No,
So I'm okay with that. Um yeah, look, we are living in a world where Spawn are the top of the pecking order now. Yeah, I think that's quite fair too. Mm, yeah. Yeah, no, I accept it. I accept it. I would rather have a Wing Prince than 5 Terminators. Um the Footprints is a hard one, I think. Where he's sitting right now doesn't feel wrong, but like in certain lists he
I
does just
think it's.
skew to being extremely valuable.
I don't think that it's necessarily a wrong placement for him. And I guess as we're going to start to wrap this video up because we've been going for a while, and thanks for hanging out and sticking around with us. I think this speaks broadly to we have a very well internally balanced codex.
Mm.
Previously, before the index was had horrible internal balance. Um,
Yeah, we were really front loading, you
it
know.
it was like the RB2K was pretty much the solved list
It was
for
super solved,
competitive,
yeah.
and it was kind of depressing that we got there and to that point where I can't tell you what a Berserker Warband solved list is going to look like, and I don't know if there will be one. And I know that problem, and that's probably the most linear of the World Eater lists. The rest of them extrapolate like exponentially to where the Demons list, good luck solving that. That is just going to be
I
some
know
psychopath on a
I
table.
don't I think something like the possessed slaughter band will be solved first. Like that is
I mean,
very, very clear in terms of like this is the detachment, it tells you what you want to do.
we're going to solve it, and we're going to know it's bad. Anyways, uh, the sorry, I'm hurting
Fuck
you,
you,
aren't
Brian.
I?
I'm gonna win a GT with slaughter band before you win a GT with any other detachment. You hear me? I'm throwing down that fucking gauntlet, bro.
Okay, Derek Doom, I'm gonna be using your models. Give me the Slaughterbound attachment or the Ape-Bound attachment.
Oh yeah, I forgot I get to pick your list for that. No, you'll be running the Jackal one.
No! Don't make me 1v1 Josie with that. Don't do it.
Wait, if I
I'll
get to pick
lose.
your full list, I must check to see if how many of my friends have defilers.
I'll do it.
I know, you won't have a choice.
I'll do it.
I'm the TO, I can red
But
card you if you don't.
back to my point. The I really feel like we have really good internal balance. I really feel like all of our data sheets got a significant glow up at the cost of Ronnie Boy getting taken out back and shot. Um,
It's nice. The book is no longer warped around a single model. It's very well balanced.
and with that,
Situationally Saucy exists because lots of things have different roles and different attachments. It's really cool.
right, and like as I was saying with the Demon Prince, is like I still think it's a phenomenal data sheet. I just think everything above it is also just really good too. Like it's
Yeah.
not saying that Demon Prince is significantly, it's not significantly worse than everything above it. The only two data sheets I'd say that are head and toes above everything else is our 8 bound and our spawn.
Yeah.
Everything else outside of Explain Yourself is within a relative close margin. Um, Actually, I lied. I don't want to say Karn is a relatively close margin to the Defiler. Everything within Daddy Staples and Hot Mama, other than those two. Um, there's a lot of going to be a lot of really weird builds. This is by no means this is just our opinions. This is probably going to change. We'll probably do another one in several months just to see kind of like how the meta's shaking out, what's winning. And we're already taking over unders on which attachments are going to be winning at first and what order. Um, I'm really excited to get my hands on multiple of these detachments. I have three Land Raiders upstairs that I want to play. I have Karn just kind of sitting in the corner, and I haven't touched him since the start of the edition, and I want to bring him back out. Forge Fiends. I want to be able to shoot my opponent and sit there and like watch them be confused. They're like, World Eater shooting good? What's happening? Right? Um, Overall, I really like our datasheet changes. I think they were for the better mostly. I would still I do agree at the beginning of the video, we had a lot of negativity about Angron's changes. It seems like he got a lot of nerfs for nothing in return. And I hope that he gets some love in the next few months and data slates and patches, and he's probably going to need a rules change, honestly, for me to seriously consider him in a list.
I don't agree. I think it's a good thing that Run's bad because it means that all this other stuff can be fun and like you don't feel bad for running it because you're not running Ron. And like if Ron becomes good, there's so many detachments where he's just so fucking powerful. And I'm really, really glad that the whole book isn't warped around him anymore. I am, gosh, this is going to be so controversial. People are going to hate me for saying this. I hope Ron stays exactly as he is until 11th edition. That might be the cold open.
I disagree because I have a nice, beautiful Angron I like to
No,
see on
you
the table.
don't.
Okay.
I painted it. I can be ju the judge of that. No, look, we've had two guys, like we've had 2 years of Ron just dominating the scene.
It
Like
is,
it's
and
completely fine if he's on the shelf for 8 months, because that's probably the only amount of time he's going to be there. Like,
he
I'm,
inevitably will get a buff. GW is not going to want the centerpiece model of our army just getting neglected, right? Look at Mortarion. That dude started at like 430 points and crept his way into every list because it's like, sure, I guess I'll bring him because he's 300 points. Angron is going to follow the same route probably. We're probably just going to hit a point where we're like, you know what? Nothing does this much damage this efficiently.
hmm
Let's just start considering him again,
yeah,
and we'll see him again. And if he needs rules changes on top of that, GW's already shown that they'll change every, I guess they don't care about the Demon Primarchs, but they will just rework Loyalist Primarchs until they're broken. So maybe they
yeah.
rework Angron until he's broken. Maybe he gets to be our Gilliman.
Maybe yeah, I'm just really fine with him taking a bit of some time on the bench for a while, but we'll see. We'll see. I think other than that, I very much echo your thoughts. Like, really excited to see what people come out with. We are in the very early days of the Codex. This is a preliminary overview of where we are ranking the data sheets and also a pretty good insight into kind of like what we think about all the changes for them, what we think is hot and what we think is not, I suppose. And yeah, we've got a lot more coming out. I think following these videos, we're going to be pretty close to our detachment breakdowns, which are going to be like real hyper-focused looks at competitive builds for each detachment. So expect to see myself, Brian, and Jamie taking two of those each and diving deep into them. That should be coming up, I think, next week, or might even kind of already be rolling out. I'm not exactly sure of the order in which these are dropping anymore. Yeah, it's very exciting. So I think without further ado, it's about time for everyone, I suppose, to take your screenshots, to rage post this to the internet, share it to all your Discord forums. There we go. Now we can take the screenshot. But yeah, so to close it out, thank you very much, everyone, for watching. If you want to support the channel, hop into our Discord. You can chat away there. Like, comment, and subscribe to the channel on YouTube. And if you want more tactical insight, if you want to know how to make the Defiler #1 look good and #2 work well on the tabletop, you can consider our Patreon, where we have access to a competitive and hobby-focused channel within our Discord for all members for a very cheap price of basically one coffee a month. It's not much, but it can get you a good time with some very, very funny people. And actually, to be honest, both the RB2K and Brosy came out of the Patreon competitive channel, and those were the two staple lists for world leaders for like the index. So it's the place to be if you're looking for world leader innovation, or if you want up your painting game as well. I will be able to help you along there. So for now, I've been Dara. This has been Brian. You have been watching The Red Path. Welcome to a brand new world of the World Leader Codex. Until the next video, folks, you stay healthy, stay safe, and kill, maim, burn.